All world fantasy, we break it down raw. Draft board champs with a playbook to all. Hot game vicious, the knowledge too deep. From sweepers to stars, we make your team elite.
Welcome back to another episode here on All World Fantasy Football. It's your host, your boy, Curtis Mangrum, aka All World, aka Bookie. Welcome back to another episode. This is here, episode 21, where we will be going over the biggest lessons learned for the 25-26 season. In this episode, I'm going to go to break down top 10 finishes at the quarterback, running back, and receiver position for the season and compare them to my preseason rankings. There's where I reflect on the players I was both right and wrong about, highlighting key takeaways to improve future evaluations, my end of season fantasy teams from MVPs, all rookie teams, and all waiver wire teams. Quarterbacks, top 10 versus preseason rankings. Review the top 10 quarterback finishes and where I had them ranked before the season. Discuss the biggest surprises and disappointments. Highlight the lessons learned about evaluating quarterback consistency and upside. Running backs, top 10 versus preseason rankings. Compare the actual top 10 running back finishes to my preseason projections. Identify which breakouts and injuries shaped the running back landscape. Analyze where I hit and missed in talent evaluation or workload prediction. Wide receiver, top 10 versus my preseason rankings. Break down the top 10 wide receivers finishers and my preseason expectations. Explore trends like target share and quarterback play that influence outcomes. Point out the players I was spot on about and those I completely misjudged. Key takeaways and lessons learned. Recognize patterns that led to my best prediction. Acknowledging blind spots in my preseason analysis. Adjust to improve my future rankings. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly which players I was right to trust, what I misread, and how these lessons will make next season rankings even sharper. Big shout out to my home league champions. Last man standing league. Congratulations to Coach Jamie. In her very first year in our league, she made history as the first female coach to win the championship. What an incredible debut season. Scream League, hats off to Coach Dennis coming into the season with one of the worst ranked teams. I clowned him for him too. He defied all odds and secured his first championship. Proud of both champions for an unforgettable season. In those said leagues, in Last Man Standing League, I finished last. I'll tell you why a little bit later in the episode. In Scream League, I finished fourth. Man, on a Monday night game? Yes, Atlanta. I had Drake London up 33 points. I counted it. Fantasy football family, I counted that victory. Thought I was going to win. My opponent had Bijan, and I had Drake London up 33 points. As well, y'all know by now, Bijan scored 46 points. Drake London scored 1. So I lost. So shout out to Coach Lexi. She beat me for third place in the league. We'll see y'all next year. My 2025 MVP, taking consideration ADP, average draft position. All my rankings are coming from the Sleeper app, my home league format, 10-team PPR tight end premium. At the quarterback position, this is my MVP team. At the quarterback position, I got Drake May. He finished second at the quarterback position, averaging 21.5 points per game. His average draft position, his ADP, was the 1401. That's the 14th round, first pick. That was a steal, the biggest steal of any steal in the whole fantasy football season. Running back, CMC. He finished first at his position, averaging 25.3 points per game. Average draft position was the 205. Jonathan Taylor finished third, averaging 22.2 points per game. ADP 307. Wide receiver JSN, Jackson Smith McJigba. He finished first in his position, averaging 21.5 points per game. ADP 402. Wide receiver Puka finished second at his position, averaging 23.2 points per game. ADP 109. Tight end, my boy Trey McBride finished first, like I predicted. Predicted that right. Finishing with 18.9 points per game, ADP 303. And George Pickens, I predicted this. I ain't expect him to finish in the top five, but he finished fifth, averaging 18.1 points per game. Average draft position 701. He's in my flex. Now we have the 2025 All Rookie Team. Quarterback Jackson Dart from the Giants finished 15th, averaging 17.6 points per game. Average draft position was undrafted. Running back Travion Henderson finishing 18th at his position, averaging 12.1 points per game. ADP 602. T-Mac, Tack McKillen, the wide receiver for the Panthers, finished 18th at his position, averaging 12.4 points per game. ADP 607. Tight end Harold Fanning finished sixth in his position, averaging 11.6 points per game. ADP undrafted. And my flex, all rookie team, Alshon Gentry. Kind of disappointing year, but he's creeping in the top 10. He finished 10th, averaging 14.4 points per game. His average draft position was the 202. My 2025 all waiver wire team, quarterback Matthew Stafford finished third. And all these players went undrafted. Matthew Stafford finished third in his position, averaging 20.7 points per game. Running back Kenneth Gainwell finished 17th at the running back position, averaging 13.1 points per game. Wide receiver, what is his name? Marcus? Is it Marcus Wilson? I don't even know his first name, but Wilson, third year breakout wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. He came on strong in the last 7-8 weeks of the season, finishing 12th in the receiver's position, averaging 13 points per game. Rookie Harold Fanning again finishes sixth at the position, averaging 11.6 points per game. And at the flex position, Wan'Dale Robinson from the New York Giants finishing 14th, averaging 13.6 points per game. Now, the 2025 top 10 finishers for weeks 1 through 17 based off gameplay and total points. Not the average, based off gameplay and total points. At the quarterback position, these are the finishes. At number 1, Josh Allen. 2, Drake May. Stafford from the Rams. 3, Dak Prescott. 4. At 5, Caleb Williams. Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars finished 6. Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos finished 7. Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles finished 8th. Justin Herbert for the Los Angeles Chargers finished 9th. And coming in at number 10, Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions. At the quarterback position, these were my preseason rankings coming into the year. I had Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, J.D. Daniels, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Patrick Mahomes. So now, breaking down the top 10, my rankings coming into the year, of course, I never really take too much consideration of being wrong when someone gets hurt. So disregard J.D. Daniels, Joe Burrow, and you get a little pass with Lamar Jackson. But I'm not giving Kyler Murray a pass because he could have played. He got benched for Jacoby Brissett, which was the top three quarterback since becoming the starter with the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, the Arizona Cardinals struggled to win games, struggled to move the ball when Kyler Murray was at the helm at the starting quarterback position. Kyler Murray got to be my biggest disappointment at the quarterback position. I had him ranked ninth coming into the year. Ninth. He didn't even finish in the top 30. I know he got hurt, but he was healthy. He got benched for Jacoby Brissett. The offense was more fluid, more efficient. They moved the ball and scored. I think they ended up scoring 9 more points a game with Jacoby Brissett under center. Jacoby Brissett had Trey McBride be a player for his pretty much his whole career. Trey McBride didn't score touchdowns with Kyler Murray. He didn't. I think he totaled three his whole career, if I'm not mistaken. Soon when Jacoby Brissett took over, Trey McBride was the number one tight end rest of the season by a mile. By a mile. He averaged 6 more points than the number two ranked tight end. Look what Wilson did the third year breakout. Look what Wilson did. Nobody even really knew too much about Wilson. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know. I didn't know he was capable of doing something like that given the opportunity. I didn't know. But he unlocked him. Finished him as a top 13, top 12 receiver. Kyler Murray's gone. To me, Kyler Murray will never be in my rankings. Now, I'm going to say at least, especially not next year. Because most likely they're going to cut Kyler Murray. The other quarterback that I was scared of coming to the year, Tua would be cut too as well. But I was wrong. I know this is not the top 10, but I definitely was wrong about Sam Darnold. I thought last year was a fluke with Minnesota. They went in 14 games. He still showed those little I've seen ghosts type of plays or have those games. But overall, he proved me wrong. And also JSN. It goes hand in hand. I thought in a Clint Kubiak system, it was run heavy. They did finish at the bottom five. I think it was bottom five at the passing rate in the whole NFL. So it's hard to trust someone that's in that offensive scheme that's in the bottom of passing attempts. But proven wrong. But I definitely was right about Drake May. Of course I didn't have him finish second. No. But I said he definitely can be creep up in the top 8, top 6, best case scenario. But he finished top 2. I had him 12. Yeah, I had him 12 coming into the season. I had Dak at 11, so Dak finished 4th. And I had Caleb Williams at 6. Yeah, 6. And Caleb Williams finished 5th. Lawrence, I was kind of scared of coming into the season. Past, inconsistent, never can put 2, 3 straight games together. He still be making those bonehead mistakes. Um, he'll have a game where the first half he looks like a top 5, top 10 talent that draft capital, that number 1 overall pick. But I was high on him until he came into the season, I think, with a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken, or calf. I know it was some type of injury kind of scared me away. So I had dropped him in the rankings going into the season. I think I had him at like 15 or 16. But I did have him close to that top 14 finishing with the upside of top 10 with the offensive scheme that was coming over from Tampa. What's his name? Because I know Baker missed him. Damn it, I forgot his name. But the offensive coordinator slash head coach coming from Tampa Bay, I always go put that edge or that tiebreaker with a great offensive scheme. So he was in one, and it was proven this year. The last 7 weeks of the season, he was quarterback one. So he finished at six. And everybody else is pretty. I was wrong about Justin Herbert because same thing. He in that Greg Roman system, running back heavy. They drafted Amarion Hampton. They brought in Najee Harris. They had a loaded, crowded receiver room by bringing Keenan Allen back. Orlando Gasson, the rookie tight end, came from nowhere. I know he had the athletic abilities, but for him to break, he kind of broke out this year. Um, I was like, it's too many mouths to feed, and then the O line got hurt. That's major. But Chargers be dealing with this for years now. Chargers, Bengals, and San Fran. I don't understand what's in the water over there. What's in that Gatorade they give the players. I don't get it. Cincinnati Bengals, San Francisco 49ers, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Every year they're dealing with major injuries. And I'm talking to our top players. They lost both of their tackles. They started this season off on fire. Justin Herbert was a top three quarterback in fantasy, but he finished number nine, so that was a solid finish. And then golf, I didn't have him close to this, same as Herbert. I didn't like that his offensive coordinator Ben Johnson left him, went to Chicago, and you see the difference in Caleb Williams. Um, he went to the Bears, and John Morton took over. Didn't trust him, didn't know him, didn't know too much about him. So which he ended up getting fired, I think week 8 or week 9 of the season, and Dan Campbell took over the play calling, which he got a little bit better, but they still finished in the top 8 and offensive efficiency. And I think they finished in the top 5 at points per game. I think so. But Jared Goff, this is 3 consecutive years. I think 4, but I know for sure 3, finishing in the top 12. So I know next year what to do is don't count out Herbert, Goff to finish in the top 12. I'm not going to have them outside my top 12. And Stafford, I was completely wrong on, but the reason why, and I think the only reason that, of course, I didn't have him finish third. But the only reason why, because his age, the mileage, and he came in this season and all season with a back injury. So nah, and Puka was, I think Puka was kind of banged up, if I ain't mistaken, coming into the year. So yeah, I had Stafford outside my top 16. Um, but again, offensive systems. Offensive systems is very valuable. Sean McVay, always in the top 10. Always. So that was my fault for going against the grain, going against what I believe in. Always bet on the system. At the running back position, top 10 finishes. CMC, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Jameer Gibbs, Devon Achan, James Cook, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, Travis Etienne, and Carryon Williams for the Los Angeles Rams. My top 10 coming into the year was Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Devon Achane, Wims for the Rams, JT, King Henry, Saquon, Bucky Irvin, Alshon Gentry, the rookie for the Raiders, and CMC. Yes, the biggest one was CMC. I'm gonna have the same thought next year, and I'm probably go. I'm most likely I'm gonna have him. I'm not gonna disrespect him and have him outside the top 8 again next year, but he's still not gonna be in my top 5 or 6. He's still not. This is another year. I think he turns 30. Yeah, I think he turns 30 next year. Another year having 400 touches, and he finished number one in the running back position, which has never been a repeat at the running back position from you finishing number one and then the next year you finish number one since Priest Home in 0203 or 0304. I think it was 0203 with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm not banking on that at all. Like I said, the age, the mileage, the wear and tear. That's another year with 400 touches. So yeah, I'm gonna be thinking the same thing next year. And he came in the season. I think no, he came in healthy this year. Yeah, he came. Oh yeah, this was the off season. He came in healthy. But no, I was wrong about him because he finished number one. I was wrong about it, but I would do the same thing next year too. I can eat the crow with that. I can stomach that. But the fantasy football, you trying to win championships, you got to take risks. You can't be scared. Um, I shy away from injury prone players. Sorry, I do. I've been, I guess I ain't been too successful because the past 5 years I only got one championship to call, you know what I'm saying, to support my knowledge of the sport. Um, so sometimes taking that risk does help out a lot because if you would have took CMC this year, 73% of the teams that made it to the championship game had CMC on that roster across the fantasy football landscape. 73% of teams had CMC on that roster. So taking that, whoever took that chance benefit from it. So yes, I was absolutely wrong with that, but I did also say in my episode that CMC, if he's healthy, he's definitely gonna finish in the top 3. Um, I was wrong about Bucky Irvin, but like I said, it's an injury, so I can't really take too much of the blame for that because they mishandled that. I don't know if they mishandled it, but he had multiple injuries he was dealing with at the same time. And when he came back, he didn't look too solid neither. But with Bucky Irvin, that's a player that's probably not going to be in my top 10 ranking next year. Probably not. I don't like that new system. It wasn't the same from what they had before. I'm mad I can't think of the offensive coordinator they had last year that went to Jacksonville Jaguars. What is his name? I can't think of it right now. But yeah, he would not be in my top 10 next year. And I think Barkley is set for a bounce back next year. I was down on Barkley. That's why I had him 7. Because of the Madden curse. Again, he finished number 2 last year because Gibbs finished number 1, but he was number 1 most of the year last year. And he didn't have the receiving upside last year, even though he had that 2,000 yards season. But those 400 touches, that deep playoff run, and the Super Bowl, and plus the Madden curse. So he gonna have a bounce back next year. So my running back position, I pretty much got spot on. Only person, like I said, because of an injury is Bucky Irvin. Gentry, the rookie running back, um, I'm disappointed in him. I thought it would be better. He'll have more efficient games. But the O line was a mess all year. They dealt with injuries too. This landscape of injuries across the league was just I don't know what they need to do because I think the lack of practicing these lower body injuries, soft tissue injuries, uh, and some of them are season-ending injuries, ACLs. I see a lot of Achilles lately. Um, Turf toe was crazy this year. I've seen it three different people. Um, yeah, the injuries was spread across the NFL, man. Ain't too many teams got lucky this year and actually was healthy throughout the year or for a long period of time. So yeah, the O line, the offensive scheme, I would say it can't be worse. Bringing in Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, I was like, all right, they got a top 18 offensive line coming to the year, at least top 20. It won't get worse. It was just okay. Then he had Brock Bowers, the rookie phenom from the year before, and then they traded for Geno. Geno was the rookie. Geno fell back to the way he looked when he got drafted by the Jets. He looked terrible. So it was the scheme, the offensive line, and the quarterback play. So I can't fault Genty too much. So I wasn't wrong about him. It's just I expected a little bit more. But for him to finish in the top 10, no, he finished 11th. I'm sorry, he finished 11th. So he finished right outside the top 10, which is actually good. I had him ninth coming into the year. So my running backs, I pretty was spot on with the running backs. And the running backs stayed healthy too. The running backs stayed more healthy than the receivers this year. And I'm going to talk about that later on in the episode. The swing. All right, so at the wide receiver position, JSN finished at number one. Jackson Smith and the Jigba for the Seattle Seahawks. At number two, the receiver for the Rams, Puka Nakua. At number three, the receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase. The receiver for the Detroit Lions at number four, Amar St. Brown. The receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, George Pickens. The receiver for the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave. The receiver for the Houston Texans, Nico Collins. The receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, AJ Brown. Detroit, the Denver Broncos receiver, Colton Sutton. And the receiver for the Rams, the second receiver, the second option, Devontae Adams. Finished off in the top 10 this year. My top 10 coming to the year was Chase at 1, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., St. Brown, Puka Nakua, Drake London, Nico Collins, and McConkey. Yes, there's some big busts in this. But like I said, I take away injuries. So Malik Neighbors get a pass. Um, but Brian Thomas Jr. It's not a bigger bust than Justin Jefferson because the draft calls. Jefferson went in the top eight in most drafts across the fantasy landscape. So Justin Jefferson has to be the biggest bust in fantasy. Like I said, Malik Neighbors got hurt. Brian Thomas Jr. got to be right up there with Justin Jefferson. I know coming to the year, the consensus across the landscape, all other experts had Brian Thomas like at least in the top 12 though. So he won't that far. I'm at 5. Lynn Corn, that's his name. Jacksonville Jaguars. Head coach slash offensive coordinator came from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. I know I'm gonna figure it out. Lynn Corn. Yes, I was so hype on them. And then from the previous year, PT Che had as a rookie. Um, I don't know was you blaming on the injury that he was dealing with and playing through? I think it was a wrist. He had a little small minor injuries throughout the year. Um, was you blaming on that? I'm still not gonna give up on him though, because he heading to his third year next year. I'm still gonna have him in the top at least 14. I'm not gonna have him outside my top 16. I still got faith in his talent. Um, Puka Nicole was so low coming into the season because he was dealing with yes, he was dealing with an all season. I think a calf. Him and AJ was dealing with a calf. And then I ain't trust Matthew Stafford age and his back. So I had Puka Nicole down there. Um, McConkey was the worst. I mean, not the worst. It was Jefferson and Brad Thomas Jr., but McConkey, I had it coming in at number 10. Um, Too many mouths to feed. And yes, I was feeding off last year too, how you finished. I put a lot of stock into how you finish the season and how you look overall in your system. Um, but that, like I said again, that Greg Roman system, I should have known how Justin Herbert will spread that ball out. So once Keenan Allen got over there, that's when Lyle McConkey. Matter of fact, I should have dropped him just when Keenan Allen got there. Should have dropped him at least outside the top 14 because of that. But anyway, those was the players I was wrong about at the wide receiver position. But I definitely was wrong about JSN. That Clint Kubiak system. Run heavy, two tight end, sometimes three tight end formation. Kenneth Walker, K9, and Zach Charbonnet. That two-headed backfield. Sam Donald, didn't have no faith in him. I didn't have no faith in Seattle overall anyway. I like that offensive line coming into the year. I ain't have no faith in that defense. I ain't know, come on. I don't think too many people predicted that defense to be in the top three all year. So Seattle was a surprise team this year. It happens every year. It's always those two or three teams that surprise you. But I should have known what JSN did last year. They traded away DK Metcalf and cut Christian Kirk. I should have known right there that JSN had the opportunity to flourish being the only wide receiver, the only valuable, dependable option, especially going off last year, his somewhat breakout. I should have had him. I think I had him 15 coming into the year, but I should have had him at least in the top 12, being the only option. So talent wins out. Talent wins out. But again, I'm scared of that low passing offense. No, I need some high targets. I need some at least top 15, top 18. They was in the bottom. But again, I was wrong about them. And I eat the crow. I was wrong about JSN. He finished number one, so I was completely wrong about him. The consensus, I think, had him at least in the top 12, 14. I think the consensus had him in at least top 12, if I ain't mistaken, across the fantasy football landscape. I was right about Pickens. Of course, I ain't had him finish in number 5, but I had him finish in the top 10 because I had him coming into the year in the top 12. Chris Olave just was waiting to see was he gonna stay healthy. He was dealing with those concussions, and those are major in the NFL. So I was thinking like one more concussion, they probably do him like two or sit him out for the remainder of the season. But he stayed healthy all year. He proved himself at finishing number 6. And again, offensive system. Kellen Moore went over there, hyper targeted him. When Tyler Shuck came in, the rookie quarterback that replaced Riddle, who is it, Ryder? Was it Ryder? I think it was Ryder. Tyler Shuck, the rookie, came in. Um, his targets went up, his efficiency went up, and his uh, catch percentage went up. Um, so for him to finish 6 is a surprise, but it's not a huge surprise for me because I know his talent. Um, Everybody else pretty much, I was a little down on Sutton because I don't really trust Bo Nix like that. I just trust this Sean Payton and the rushing upside when it comes to Bo Nix. I still don't trust him as a Super Bowl type caliber quarterback. I still don't trust Bo Nix like that. But as far as like fantasy production, yeah, he can always be in that top 10, Bo Nix. And Devontae Adams, I mean, he got all those most valuable targets at the red zone. I think if I ain't mistaken, he got hurt he missed the last 3 games. I think yeah, he missed the last 3 games. But he led while he was starting, he led the league in touchdowns. He led the league in red zone targets. He led the league in red zone catches. And then he was in Sean McVay offense. Being number 2 behind Puka is major. Puka get all the coverage rolled to him, so he pretty much Devontae Allen with his he still can he's still in the top 10 as far as route running. And he definitely in the top 10 as far as actually catching the ball. So Devontae Allen, yeah, I'm not surprised. Um, so that was the receivers. I'm not gonna go over the tight ends because there ain't too much to talk about, man. Trey McBride, I had him being number 1. I had Bowers being number 2 and Kittle being number 3. But Bowers, because of injuries, and I think Kittle missed 4 games. But like I said, all that is pretty much tight ends is pretty simple. If you ain't got the top 2, top 3 tight ends, it's just you throwing darts at the dartboard. You just hoping, you spinning that wheel, just hope you land on something. If you were so happy to have Harold fanning off the waiver wire, he finished 5th. Um, Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys tight end, he started off strong. But most of that came because the beginning of the season, CeeDee Lamb missed 4 games because of injuries. The O line was a little banged up. No, the O line was really banged up the first 6, 7 weeks. They was playing with backups, and Pickens was just coming to his own and getting comfortable with Dak. But it didn't take long with Pickens. So Ferguson slipped off throughout the year. Kyle Pitts came on strong once Kirk Cousins became the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. So he came on strong and showed everybody what that high draft capital meant for him. So most likely they go franchise tag him. I hope they trade him. I hope they let him walk because I don't want to see him in Atlanta no more. I just think he just need a different change of scenery. I would love him to come to the Cowboys, but they just signed Ferguson. Dallas Goddard just got all those red zone targets, which is most invaluable. The rookie Warren, I had him in the top 10. Bowers finished 8th because of injuries. Um, Jawan Johnson, no surprise in that system, and Dalton Schultz end up the top 10. Um, so those was the top 10 finishes and my top 10 rankings coming into the season. The players that I was wrong about, the players I was right about. There y'all have it. These are the things to remember next year. Number 1, draft running backs heavy and early. 8 running backs finished in the top 10 the past 2 years, and 7 running backs did it in 2023. So the running backs are back. It was a trend for a while, the zero running back strategy or the hero running back strategy. For those who don't know what that means, the zero running back strategy means you're not drafting a running back till like around rounds 4 or 5. The hero running back strategy means you drafting a running back high, meaning in the first 2 rounds, but don't pick another running back until rounds 5 or 6. Those was the strategies for the over the past I say 3, 4 years. Effective for a good 2, 3 year stretch. But for the 3 years, for the past 3 years, the top running backs are very valuable. Also, they are more productive, predictable week to week over the stud wide receivers, mainly because the top running backs have guaranteed touches around 18 to 22 touches every game. They also have, if you're in a PPR league, they have their reception upside, and of course, you got the valuable touches as the goal line back. While wide receivers, on the other hand, can be schemed out. of a game or don't get those high target outputs. So I would say I'm gonna change the way I'm drafting for now on. Running back's been healthy the past 2 years. That's what I wanted to see. And like I said, it's just more predictable, more guaranteed touches, and there's more guaranteed production because of they getting that guaranteed amount of touches. So yes, I would be drafting running backs heavy and early. Number two, draft quarterbacks late. I know it ain't something for me in particular to remember. It's just I fell off the wagon this year and I went ahead and drafted Barrow. But anyway, that'll be later on the episode. Draft quarterbacks late. The elite four quarterbacks coming into this year, the average drafted position, ADP, were Josh Allen at the 209, Lamar Jackson at the 301, Jalen Hurts at the 404, and Jaden Daniels at the 406. And then you had coming in at fifth, Joe Burrow at the 501. Like I said, all these are on my sleeper app. It's coming off the sleeper website. Average draft position. The late quarterbacks that finished in the top 10 this year and their ADP were Drake May finishing second, ADP 1401. I drafted him in several leagues and I was successful in those several leagues. I won a championship in one of them. Matthew Stafford finished third. His ADP was undrafted. Dak Prescott finished fourth. His ADP was 1201. And Caleb Williams finished fifth. His ADP was 15th round. So the 1504. And Trevor Lawrence, another quarterback that went undrafted, finished sixth. So coaches, I have been preaching this for the longest, but even I went against my own rule of thumb and drafted Barrow this year. That killed my season in my home league, last man standing. From the very beginning. The previous 2 years before the past year, 24 and 23, on average, there were five quarterbacks drafted outside the top 10 rounds or went undrafted that finished in the top 10. So coaches, just wait on quarterbacks. You would have been disappointed if you didn't have Josh Allen. If you'd have drafted any one of the other top five, you'd have been disappointed. Even Jalen Hurts. Number three, this is something I'm gonna just start doing. I'm gonna start looking into draft third and fourth year receivers. JSN ADP was 402. George Pickens ADP was 701. Chris Olave ADP was 807, and Jameson Williams ADP was 601. All four of these wide receivers finished in the top 12 at the wide receiver position. So as you can see, you can draft wide receivers like this from rounds 4 and 8. I did a little research. I went back 2 years. I don't have the numbers to back this up, so I guess it's just a one. This might be a 1 year thing because it was kind of 50-50 because there's a lot of washes too when it comes to the third and fourth year receivers too over the past 2 years. So it's kind of 50-50. So like I said, my tiebreaker would be just your actual talent, who's at your quarterback position, throwing you the ball, and your offensive scheme. Number four, draft running backs late that are in great offensive systems. There were 8 running backs selected outside of the top 9 rounds that finished inside the top 24. Two of them finished in the top 13, and Javonte Williams for the Dallas Cowboys finished 13th, and Travis Etienne finished 11th for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's just a reminder to look into those running backs late in your draft that are in great systems or have a great quarterback. Number five, don't trade/send offers until week 3 and 4. This is mainly for me to remember. Don't panic, which I did because I was in unfamiliar territory. Starting my season off in my last man standing league, 0-3. I never ever started off none of my seasons 0-3. So I panicked and traded away Dak, as y'all know he finished third, Achan, as y'all know he finished third, and George Pickens, as y'all know he finished fifth. So thought to self, next year, evaluate my team every quarter of the season, unless, of course, someone sends you a great deal that you can't turn down. But just have patience and trust your draft board and all the data you accumulated all season, at least for the first 3 to 4 weeks. My last one, and I think is the most important one. This is how you win championships, people. Know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Early season fantasy football trade strategy. When a rookie, when a rookie or unproven player in a crowded position group start the season off on fire, it's often the perfect time to sell high. They may be producing top 14 numbers through weeks 1 through 4, but without a proven track record or a clear path to consistent value, their value could peak early. Turning that hot start into a proven stud can set your team up for long-term success. Key strategy to keep in mind, coaches. Identify unproven players in crowded rooms who start hot. Shop them aggressively for proven talent before regressions hit. Use your league's trade window to upgrade your core with players who will perform over the long haul. By folding early on boom or bust assets and acquiring studs, you secure a higher weekly floor and a better playoff outlook. I came up with lists of players coaches could have taken advantage of this past year alone. These are the players you should have traded away after weeks 1 through 4. They all of them was in the top 14 in our prospective position. Javonte Williams, weeks 1 through 4, he was running back 6. From weeks 5 through 17, rest of the fantasy football season, he was running back 17th. At that time, you could have easily flipped him for Derrick Henry. He was running back 22, weeks 1 through 4. Weeks 5 through 17, he was running back 7. You could have easily traded Javonte Williams for Chase Brown. He was running back 29th. He finished the season at running back 6. That's just some examples of players you could have traded for straight up, or probably could have got more for Javonte Williams' hot start. Roma Doomsday, I called that. All the rest of these players I called. Roma Doomsday was third, weeks 1 through 4. He finished the season 48th. Quinn Johnson, the Chargers, was fourth at the wide receiver position. He finished 45th. The rookie receiver at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And again, a Doomsday Johnson and the rookie receiver at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a Jigba. All of them were in crowded room. Multiple targets. Multiple options. So just keep in mind of that, coaches. Just keep in mind. He was 8th. How high he was, how high people was on him beforehand, and then for him to come out and start like that. Do you know who you could have got if you would have traded those players away? Those 3 receivers in particular, a Doomsday Johnson and Jigba. You could have got, oh yeah, Johnson finished 45th and the Jigba finished 36th. You could have got Jamar Chase. He started off 1 through 4 weeks at 18, finished 3rd. Drake London started off at 20th, finished 5th. Chris Olave started off 25th, finished 6th. You could have got those receivers for those receivers. Look, what that would have done for the remainder of your season from weeks 5 through 17. Then the other receivers coming in. Trey Tucker, the speedster out of the Raiders. He was 11th at the wide receiver position weeks 1 through 4. He finished 64th. Keenan Allen was 9th with the Chargers. He finished 44th. Debo called it, was 10th weeks 1 through 4, finished 36th. And J.K. Dobbins, he was 14th at the running back position, looking great. I called that because of injuries. He finished 34th. These are other players you could have got for those players I just named. You could have got Stephon Diggs that was 37th in a great system, being the number one target for Drake May. He finished 17th at the wide receiver position. J-Mo, Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions. You knew this was his breakout year. They paid him. I knew coming in. I had him in my top 24. I think I had him in my top 20. He started the season off weeks 1 through 4, 41st. He finished the season 16th. A.J. Brown started the season off 45th, finished the season 9th. T. Higgins started the season off 57th, finished the season 10th. Those receivers you could have got for a Keenan Allen, a Debo, a Doomsday, a Quentin Johnson, a Jigba, a Trey Tucker maybe in a small piece. You could have got receivers like Higgins, AJ, J-Mo, Diggs, Chris Olave, Drake London, and Jamar Chase. And say if the player is smart, you got to give them a Doomsday and Quentin Johnson for Jamar Chase. Think about that at the time. The number 3 ranked receiver, weeks 1 through 4, and the number 4 ranked receiver. Trade both of them, package both of them for Jamar Chase. That's how you win championships. That's how I won a championship in my league. I only made one trade. And that one trade was I traded A.J. Brown, Worthy, and Mason for Jamar Chase. At the time, Mason was a top 10 running back. Aaron Jones got hurt like always. He was the number 1 back in Minnesota at the time. AJ had that one monster game because he started off slow, but he had that one monster game. Traded him because I ain't like the passing chart in Philly, but I was wrong about that. He ended up finishing 9th. But like I said again, I didn't have him outside my top 12 anyway. I just ain't like the start for AJ. But for to get Chase, I'll do that. And I gave him Worthy. Worthy had that one good game out of the 4 weeks. He was the number 1 option. Well, technically pretty much the only option in Kansas City other than Kelsey. Rashee Rice, I knew he was coming back off his suspension after 4 or 5 weeks. So I tried to get off Worthy before that happened. So I packaged that for Jamar Chase. And that helped me win the championship. So coaches, I hope y'all benefit for what I just said, what I had break down, what was my faults, my wrongs, the things I was right on, the takeaways for next year and for future reference. I hope y'all benefit for some of those. But again, I didn't like this year. It was a down year for me in fantasy. I'm in 4 leagues. I won a championship in one of them, finished 4th in the other one, finished last in my main home league, and I finished 7th in my other one. I had a pretty down year because of my main league, the league that I really care about. Finishing last was the worst ever. I never ever finished last. I always make the playoffs. So this year really was an unfamiliar territory. Like I really didn't know what to do. I panicked, let the coaches get to me, talk the shit. Like I did what a typical rookie would do. So I went against my own word throughout the season over and over and over again because I couldn't get a win. Um, but yeah, like I said, the most important thing for me to remember is just don't panic. It's a long season. Don't panic. You start off 0-2, 0-3, shit, 0-4. You don't need but 6 or 7 wins to make the playoffs in most fantasy football leagues. 6 or 7 wins, you'll make a playoffs in a fantasy football league. 10 team, 12 team. 60% of your league in a 10 team league makes the playoffs. So don't panic when you start off 0-2, 0-3, 0-5. Don't panic. It's a long season. So what a year. Year one of All World's Fantasy Football Podcast is in the books. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I'm dropping this on my birthday. So shout out to your boy. I appreciate all the love, all the comments, all the subscriptions, all the hearts, the likes, thumbs up, all the support. I appreciate it. I love y'all. All world out till next year.
Yo, welcome to the zone, the fantasy throne. All world vibes where the stats get shown. With the wrong gurus dropping gems on the mic. Lineups get tight, every pick sounding right. From Sundays to Mondays, we making it clear. Great talk with the grab strategy severe. Deep dives absurd like a Hail Mary spree. All world fantasy where legends agree. Defenses stacking, the points adding weight. Hosts dropping heat, don't you dare show up late. Dynasty dreams or a DFS glance. This your winning ticket, give your lineup a chance. All world fantasy, we break it down raw. Draft board champs with a playbook to all. High game dishes, the knowledge too deep. From sweepers to stars, we make your team elite.